Hello, welcome to Lemon Series, where we talk movies, television, and wrestling. I'm, of course, Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my review for Undertone. But before we get into that, let's get the house clear out of the way. Share, leave a like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on Undertone. Of course, hit the subscribe button to help me grow into my YouTube career. I'll greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into it, shall we? So, Undertone, the latest from A24. This is the story about Evie, who's played by Nina Kiri, who is truly doing a one-woman show in a lot of ways. She's the only actor that we actually see. Yes, we do have someone who is playing her mother, but the mother is basically bedridden and doesn't really move throughout the whole entire film. Evie is the only one who has speaking lines. Again, she's the only person we see. Of course, there are other people that we hear, whether she's talking to them on the phone, or, you know, her podcast partner, Justin, is probably the second biggest character in this movie, simply because he is the co-host of this film. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this. I really loved the concept of it. So the tagline of this movie is that this is the scariest movie you will ever hear. And within that, that lets you know, and even in the trailers as well, it is sound first. It's all about the noise. We're not going to be relying on these jump scares that are going to be physically popping out of the screen. It's the noise that's going to make, that's going to cause discomfort. It's the noise that's going to make you scared. And that really, really fascinated me. And, you know, I saw this movie super late. And as I'm growing older in my years, as I approach closer to 30, I now tend to go to sleep pretty early, right? You know, I wake up early for work, so I am typically in bed by 9. I went and saw this movie at 9, and typically when that happens, I struggle to stay awake throughout the whole entire movie, whether it's, you know, scary, funny, or relatively good for that matter. But I don't know if it was the time change or this movie really rocked, but I was wide awake throughout the whole entire time, and I was like really contemplating the movie for like a couple more hours afterwards as well, even to the point that when I went to sleep and I woke up, I was still full of energy because of how well this movie is executed. What I appreciate about this film is how it doesn't make movie decisions. And I can't fully get into that without really spoiling the film, but basically to give a gist, if you've seen a horror movie and you see some characters, like there's Evie and then there's Justin, right? Well, I guess since I already said at the top that this is truly a one-woman show all the way through, I guess I can give this out. But, you know, they have a bit of a connection. You can sense that there's a history there. There are these two best friends who probably grew up together. Like, it's not fully explicit, but by their dialogue and the way they talk to each other, you can tell there's something there that maybe one of them wants to be more than friends, or maybe both of them wanted to be more than friends, but no one was like, oh, the risk just isn't there. I'd rather have this person in my life than not have them in my life at all. So they've moved on and done all these things, but you can tell there's a true connection, kinship between these two. And throughout the movie, as the spookiness is beginning, right? And he can tell that something's up with her by her voice. Again, Nina does a great job playing Evie, and even the voice work from Justin and from everyone else that we hear throughout this film, they do a great job. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's almost like an audiobook came to life, because you can really get a sense of how they are through their voices. But yeah, in a typical movie, when someone's starting to struggle and it's like, hey, you know what? You may not want me there, but I'm going to be there. And it never makes that decision. Also, you know, a character's going to go from one place to another. You would think, okay, so we're going to experience this just to confirm and show what we are trying to convey that was explained earlier on. No, we don't do that. And there's another character who, again, very, very limited voice time whatsoever. I think they're only in for one scene, and you would think we would meet this person at some point, and we don't. And within that, like, that could be frustrating for some people, but I really did appreciate this movie because, again, everyone understood their role. Like, yes, Evie, this movie is a one-woman show. I take a drink every time I say that, and she is the star, and she does an absolutely phenomenal job in it. But the real star of this film is the sound, and no one's getting in the way of that. Everyone's like, okay, this is the forefront, this is the focus, this is what we are bringing people in for this exact thing. And it executes that on all levels. I cannot tell you how many times I was tensed up. My arms were like sore after the movie because I was so tensed up and ready to go. Because I'm one of those people who, when I can tell a jump scare is about to happen, right? It's loud in a theater. And, you know, they do that really loud noise to get you to jump. You know, it's cheap heat in a lot of ways. So I am typically that person like, oh, jump scare is about to happen. Let me cover up the ears. And this movie, I couldn't do that because I didn't think I would be doing the movie justice. Because again, the whole point of the film is to be on that sound. And again, they don't go for cheap jump scares. There is one very well executed in the third act of the film that you will never see coming. You will never be able to anticipate it's going to happen. Like, I was going, okay, yeah, no, it's time to, you know, we can wind down a little bit. We can calm down. We're about to wrap this up. Oh my God. And it's like, again, it's executed very, very well. And it also does a great job at conditioning you on when you should start to get scared. So the best comparison I used in my immediate reaction on TikTok was that it was almost like Paranormal Activity. When she starts to sit down, about to go through these files, because that's the story of the film. Evie is watching over her mom, and while she is, you know, watching over her mom, she does her podcast with Justin, and she's a skeptic, right? She's not a believer in ghosts, paranormal, or anything, you know, urban legends, all of that stuff, while Justin is. So that's their whole podcast. That's their whole shtick. She's the skeptic. He's the believer. He's trying to prove to her that these things are real. And they come across these 10 audio tapes, and they're trying to dissect, is this true phenomenon or is it a big hoax? And every time they start listening to it, like, this movie does not let up. It gets going from minute one in a lot of ways. So while they're doing this, you start to hear some noise and you're like, okay, is this part of the clip or is this happening in the house? And then when she turns around, I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it. And then she turns around, like, she hears something like, oh no, it's not part of the clips, and then it goes to a wide, and you're constantly looking around and you're hearing the stuff. Oh, it's just so good at tension, to the point where I do think this is worthy of going to the theater for. I don't think this movie is going to do as well when it does hit streaming. I do think this is a movie that you should experience at least once. And this is a movie that you do put on full blast if you were going to watch at home, just to give it as much justice as possible. But I'm telling you, being in the theater with that theater surround sound that nothing matches to, I don't care how great your surround system is at home, nothing beats the theatrical experience, or let alone the Dolby Atmos is where I was watching it. And with that sound, and you know, you can hear something from back here, but then something goes on over here, and it really does a mind trick on you while you're watching. I cannot recommend this movie enough. I truly can't. This really calls to me in a lot of ways too, because I am like a Justin. I am a believer. I believe in ghosts. You know, horror is my favorite, but my favorite horror movies are like a Paranormal Activity, an Exorcist, anything that deals with ghosts or demons. I am always there for, so it checks off that. Listener of podcasts, especially podcasts like this, so it checks off of that. Great performances, doesn't do the typical direction that you expect a movie to do. Check off over there. I really cannot think of any true criticism when it comes to this movie. It's tight. I feel like it gets out right when it needs to. I think the ending is very, very strong in the film as well. Again, I admire that the movie gets going from minute one. Like, there's a little bit of setting up, but for the most part, hey, we are getting ready to rock and roll, so let's get to it. We all know what the people are here for. Why stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne? It's not my favorite movie of the year so far. It is two, easily. Like, it's Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, Undertone, a little bit of a gap, and then we get to number 3, whichever that is. I can't recall. I think it's Go, the animated film that came out earlier this year. But yeah, if I had to rank this on the lemon scale, sour lemon at the bottom, bad movie. Expired store-bought lemonade, bad movie, but hey, there's some good. Store-bought lemonade after that, because there's some good, but hey, there is some bad in the film as well. Lemonade, it's a movie. Freshly squeezed lemonade, very good. Minor nitpicks here and there. Strawberry lemonade at the very top, because that is the best kind of lemonade. I will say Undertone is a freshly squeezed lemonade, and I'm only not giving it the strawberry just because I am curious to see how my experience is going to be when I watch it at home. It is an amazing theatrical experience. It calls for the movie theater. It truly does. I do think this is worthy of a date night, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into. If you're thinking horror, ooh, flashy images, you know, really coming out of your face, monsters, blah, 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 it's not that type of horror movie. But if you know going into it that the scares is within the sound and you just succumb to that, oh, I think you're going to have an absolutely amazing time at the movies. It's going to be a great date night. Definitely one that y'all curl up a little bit together with. Like, I was sitting there going, oh, I don't have anyone. And I was so tensed up. It is one of those movies that you and your loved one will truly be like, we're going to make it out. It's going to be okay. And then on your drive home, maybe you get yourself some ice cream and then do what I do when I get really spooked out. Put on Phineas and Ferb on Disney+. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Undertone. Again, a great time at the movies. I cannot recommend it enough. It leaves me gleefully, even though it is a hell of a horror experience. But I haven't felt this good about a horror movie in quite some time. I know last year we had some good ones. You know, there were Sinners. There was Weapons. There was a lot that were good blockbuster type. But this type where, you know, it's indie, it's a far out there, a concept idea. It just made me feel good. and I guess I just wanted to share that with y'all. But yeah, let me know what y'all thoughts on Undertone down in the comment section. Leave a like if you made it this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button as I am trying to grow into my YouTube career. And don't forget to squeeze the days, guys, because life is too short not to give your all. So squeeze every opportunity that you can. Until next time, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.